A popular boy, a forgotten girl, a freezing night that changed both their futures.
Someone like you.
We were unlikely friends. I was cocky, popular, and good-looking. Millie was quiet, thin, and almost invisible. We met in 8th grade when Millie came to live with a foster family on my street. I first noticed her sitting on the front porch doing homework. The foster home she lived in had a lot of kids of different ages, and I assumed she came outside because she needed some peace. But then I noticed she was out there every day, even when the weather turned cold. Really cold. One evening, I was walking home from practice when I saw her huddled on the porch with no jacket. I stopped and walked up to her. "Hey, you're in my class, right?" I asked. She looked up and nodded. "Why are you out here in the cold?" She didn't answer. "Why don't you go inside?" I asked, stepping closer. The sun was going down, making it hard to see, but I could tell she was shivering. There were tears in her eyes. Suddenly, I understood. She wasn't out there by choice. "Hey, do you want to come to my house? I live right there." I pointed 2 doors down. Millie shook her head. "Come on," I said. "My mom's cool. We can have dinner." Millie looked up, suddenly interested. That's when I noticed how thin she was. She was hungry. I wasn't one to give up easily. I held out my hand. "Let's go. My name's Jake, by the way." Millie hesitated for a moment, then stood and followed me to my house. She kept slowing down, so I stopped and encouraged her to walk next to me. When we reached the front door, she hesitated in the doorway. "Come on," I said gently. Then I called out, "Mom, I'm home." My mother came to the door and looked surprised to see a thin, disheveled girl standing behind me. "Hi, who's this?" she asked kindly. I explained that Millie was our neighbor. After some introductions, we all sat down for dinner. By the end of the meal, Millie was smiling at the bickering between my younger brother Dennis and me. When I asked her if she wanted to play video games with us, she shook her head. "Thank you, but I have to get back before bedtime or they will lock the doors until morning." I looked at my mother. She had a troubled expression. "Millie, if you ever need to come here for any reason, please don't hesitate," my mother said. "Thank you, Mrs. Just call me Mary," my mother said. "And I have an extra jacket if you need one." Millie gratefully accepted it. As I walked her back to her house, I invited her to meet me for lunch the next day at school. But she didn't show up. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to make sure Millie was safe. She had touched something inside me that I didn't even know existed. From that day on, I knew I would do everything I could to be there for her. A week later, I saw her again. She was walking home wearing my mother's oversized jacket. I rushed to catch up. "Hey, Millie, you didn't come find me at lunch," I said. "I'm sorry. I haven't been to school this week. My foster parents needed me to take care of the little ones." "You stayed home to babysit?" I asked incredulously. "Isn't that illegal or something?" Millie shrugged. "They do it all the time." "Can you come over today?" I asked. Millie hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, if I can." She walked up to her house. "See you later," I called. Sure enough, Millie showed up about an hour later. My mother and Dennis greeted her like an old friend, and that started our nightly routine. Millie would appear around 5 in the afternoon and rush home by 8. During that time, we ate dinner, played video games, and sometimes watched television. My mother contacted Child Protective Services and reported her concerns about Millie's foster home. Millie told us there were locks on the refrigerators. My mother learned that the state was already in the process of investigating the home. There were 3 other kids there, and school officials had already reported concerns about neglect and abuse. "They're investigating," my mother told us later, "and they're pretty sure the children will be removed." "Where will they go?" my mother asked. "To homes that will hopefully be better." My mother thought for a moment. "Can I foster Millie?" "You would need to be approved as a foster parent. Do you want to do that?" My mother was a working, single mother with 2 boys. But without hesitation, she said yes. That's how Millie came to live with us. At first, I was irritated that I had to share a room with Dennis, But my mom gave us the primary bedroom with the attached bathroom. She took the next biggest room, and Millie stayed in Dennis's old room. Smaller, but still very nice. We had an unfinished, full basement. When we were younger, my father used to bring us down and point out where he wanted to put the pool table, the kitchenette, and the movie theater. It was a dream we all shared, but when I was 9, a car accident took my father, and the dream died. One day, I found my mother staring down the basement stairs. "What are you doing?" I asked. She turned to me. "I think it's time to get the basement ready. We need the space, and if we do it a little at a time, we can finally have Dad's dream room. You can use part of it as your bedroom when you get to high school. You can't share a bedroom with Dennis forever." The remodel took a full year. We did some work ourselves, but my mom hired a contractor for the big stuff. Millie helped out, while Dennis mostly caused more chaos than actual help. When the space was move-in ready, my mother bought me a king-size bed. Dennis argued that it wasn't fair that he was being moved back into the small room so my mother could have her room again. Millie moved into the mid-sized room. "That's not fair," Dennis pouted. "She's not even family." The minute the words were out, Dennis realized what he said. My mother looked at him. Millie, who was helping me make the bed, froze. "Dennis," my mother said. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." "Asshole," I said. "Jake," my mother warned. "Dennis, please apologize to Millie." "I'm sorry, Millie." Then he burst into tears. Millie walked over to him. "It's okay, but to me, you are my family." This caused Dennis to cry even louder. He was only 11. My mother comforted him, and he finally calmed down. But I could see the sadness in Millie's eyes. In the year she lived with us, she had changed so much. She had gained weight, her hair and face looked healthy. She made friends at the high school and joined student council, even as a freshman. Still, every once in a while, you could see the sad girl I met on that winter night. The basement was awesome. It was divided into 4 spaces. One was the utility area, another was a game and exercise room, a movie theater, complete with a popcorn machine, and finally, my bedroom and bath. Each space was closed off, so multiple people could use the space at the same time. Dennis spent every minute he could in the gaming room with his headphones on. My mother had to limit his time because he could get so caught up in his games. When I wasn't in my room, I spent most of my time in the movie theater. The screen was huge, and my mom kept it stocked with snacks. Millie and my mother spent most of their time upstairs in the living room. My mother was teaching her how to knit. Millie picked it up quickly, unlike Dennis and me, who lost interest the first day my mother tried to teach us. She also allowed Millie to experiment with cooking. Millie bought cookbooks and tried different recipes every Sunday. Some of the meals were amazing. Many were not. Sometime at the start of our junior year, something changed between us. My mother had gone out of town to attend one of her relatives' weddings. Millie had always been hesitant to come into the man cave, but after a few hours alone, she finally ventured downstairs. I was just starting one of my favorite movies, The Sixth Sense, and I invited her to join me. We sat in the dark. She had never seen the movie before and was blown away by the twist ending. At one point, I looked over at her and realized how pretty she had become. She turned and looked at me at the same time and smiled. The overwhelming urge to kiss her came over me. A few minutes later, Dennis came barreling out of the game room, and the moment passed. Over the next few months, Millie started coming downstairs more often, and soon, we realized we had genuine feelings for each other. Little by little, we moved from friends to something more. Millie insisted that we respect our mother's home, so we kissed and held hands. Our senior year of high school, we finally told my mother. "Oh, honey," she said, "I already knew. You're not very subtle." "What do you think?" I asked. "Well, I love Millie, but both of you will be leaving for college next year. If you get serious, that might be an issue." "We're not serious, Mom. Don't worry." She smiled. "Okay, just keep in mind that the next 4 to 5 years, you will probably be away from each other." I thought about what she said. I really liked Millie. I never saw her as a sister. I always saw her as a friend. Now, I loved laughing with her and sharing our thoughts and dreams. I didn't think I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her, though. I had only had 2 girlfriends before her, and I still had college ahead of me. I decided it was time to have a talk with her. Millie, I said one night while we were watching TV together, I want to talk about our future. I saw surprise in her eyes, so I quickly added, next year, we're going in different directions. We're going to different colleges, and I don't think a long-distance relationship is a good idea. I saw her face fall. I'm not saying I want to break up, I said quickly. I just think we should be aware that after this year, we will probably go our separate ways. She looked at me. I couldn't tell what she was thinking, but then she said, okay. That was it. Just okay. We continued dating. We went to prom together. Graduation came, and Mom took us all on a vacation to Disney World. Millie admitted that she had always wanted this when she was a young girl in foster care, but felt certain that it could never happen. In August, I loaded my car and headed to UT Austin, about an 8-hour drive from our West Texas home. Millie packed a suitcase and flew to Cornell University in New York. She knew that accepting the full scholarship that allowed her to attend this prestigious school would severely limit how often she could return home, but it was her only chance to attend college. I got a partial scholarship, so my mom would have to cover the rest. I told her I would work and help out, but she told me that my dad had left some money that would help. I knew it wasn't enough, but what choice did we have? The night I left, I sat with Millie on the front porch. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Jake, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. If you hadn't stopped to talk to me that day in 8th grade, I don't know what would have happened to me. I love you. I held my breath. She continued quickly. You don't have to say anything. I know we're going our separate ways, and I don't want you to feel guilty or trapped with me. I just wanted you to know. She leaned over and kissed me. I returned the kiss, a quiet conflict stirring inside me. I knew I was doing the right thing, yet, as we sat there watching the sunset, her head resting on my shoulder, the weight of what I was about to lose pressed heavily on my chest. My first semester at school was a whirlwind of activities, classes, assignments, and, yes, partying. I made some friends and we burned the candle at both ends. It was exhausting, but so much fun. Thankfully, I was able to keep my grades up. One of my new friends was named Bella. She was from England. She was beautiful, rich, and entitled. I don't know why she decided to attend UT, except that she heard Austin was the place to be. What she didn't realize was that Texas is hot. She complained about it constantly. In spite of this, she was wild and fun. When Bella laughed, the whole room noticed. She was loud, fearless, and completely uninterested in what anyone thought of her. At the time, that confidence felt exciting. When Bella wanted something, she got it. And what she wanted was me. Before I knew it, she was inviting me back to the apartment her parents had rented for her, and eventually, into her bed. I felt a little twinge of guilt, but I had to remind myself that Millie and I were no longer together. We still texted and FaceTime on occasion, but we had agreed that we were only friends. I flew home for Thanksgiving. Millie couldn't make it. She wouldn't be home until summer. Dennis and I hung out, and he told me all about his high school adventures. I caught up with old friends and made plans to return for Christmas. I told my mother I would be back for Christmas break, but I would be driving since it was a longer visit and I wanted my car. Jake, do you think that old car can handle the trip again? I pretended to be insulted. No one insulted my baby. I continued my relationship with Bella, which was moving way faster than I was comfortable with. But she was so commanding and so sure of herself that I found it easier to go along with it. After all, we were college freshmen. We were just having fun. All that changed on the last day of the semester. I was packing my car when Bella walked up to me with 2 suitcases. What's going on? I asked. Bella was staying in town. She had the apartment, so she didn't have to clear out like the rest of us. I wanted to meet your family, she said. What? If I'm going to keep dating you, I want to meet your family. Plus, everyone's leaving. I'll be bored by myself, so I'm going home with you. I was speechless. I hadn't mentioned Bella to anyone. I didn't know how my mother would handle this. But Bella was already throwing her bags in the trunk and getting in the car, so the decision was made. Each mile closer to home made me nervous. By the time I pulled into our driveway, I was riddled with anxiety. Bella had slept most of the way. She woke up when we stopped. "We're here," I said weakly. I saw her evaluate our home. It wasn't fancy, but it was a nice middle-class house in a nice middle-class neighborhood. Nothing to be ashamed of. "It's nice," she said lamely. I ignored that. We unpacked and walked up to the door. Before I opened it, my brother threw it open. "You're back! Didn't you just leave?" he joked. Then he saw Bella. His eyes widened and he looked at me. "Where's Mom?" I asked as we walked in. Dennis looked panicked. At that moment, my mother came out of the kitchen. "Surprise! Look who made it home!" She stopped when she saw Bella. Behind her, Millie walked in with a plate of cookies. The world stood still. No one said anything until Bella stepped forward and introduced herself. "Hello, I'm Bella, Jake's girlfriend. You must be his mother and his sister. It's nice to meet you." My mother finally recovered. "Bella, how nice to meet you. I didn't know Jake was bringing anyone home." She looked at me. I looked away. "It was last minute," Bella explained. She turned to me. "Where's our room? I'm exhausted." "Our room." I wanted the earth to swallow me. We're in the basement," I said. Bella wrinkled her nose, but headed in the direction I pointed. "Jake, may I speak to you in my room, please?" my mother said calmly. Millie walked back into the kitchen, and Dennis quietly went to his room. I followed my mother in. Before she even shut the door, I started explaining. "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't invite her. She surprised me as I was getting ready to drive away. She's from England and didn't want to stay alone." I was rambling. My mother stopped me. "She's your girlfriend?" I nodded. "And she's sleeping in your room? Do you have that kind of relationship?" I nodded again. My mother sighed. "You just met her. You just got out of a relationship with Millie, and you're 18 years old." "I'm in college, Mom. That's what happens there. I'm not comfortable with you and her sleeping in the same bed while she is here. But with Millie being back, I don't have anywhere else to put her." I suddenly felt defensive. "If we're not wanted here, we can drive back tomorrow. Bella has an apartment where we can stay." "Jake, calm down. You can't spring this on me and not expect pushback. You can stay, but you need to talk to Millie. You just broke up, and you showed up with your new girlfriend, who will be sleeping with you in her house." "I didn't know she would be here. She said she wasn't coming until the summer." "I bought her a ticket," my mother said quietly. "I didn't want her to be alone on Christmas." "Well, I didn't know that," I snapped. I walked out and looked for Millie in the kitchen. She wasn't there. I walked out to the front porch. She was sitting in the same chair she had been in the day I left, when she told me she loved me. She was crying. For some reason, that made me angry. "Millie," I said, my voice cold. "We agreed that we were going to see other people. Why are you crying now?" Millie didn't answer. "You're making me feel bad, and I haven't done anything wrong," I said, raising my voice. Millie kept crying. "Talk to me," I demanded. "I'm sorry," she said. I knew I was overreacting, but I couldn't stop myself. "You can't make me feel bad about moving on. We broke up." "I know," she said quietly. "I'm sorry." I stormed inside. I didn't want to see Bella or my mother, or even Dennis, so I grabbed my keys, got in my car, and drove away. I didn't say anything to Millie as I passed her. After I drove around for a while, I stopped at my friend Michael's house. He was also back for Christmas break. I told him everything. He listened, and when I was done, he said, "That sucks, dude." "Thanks, I know," I said sarcastically. "You need to fix this. Millie's cool, and you're being a jerk," he said matter-of-factly. I deflated. I know. I don't know what got into me. I just couldn't stop. I felt attacked, so I attacked. Millie didn't deserve that. Michael waved toward the door. Go, he said. Bring flowers. I left and stopped to buy some drugstore flowers. When I got home, my mother's car was missing. I cautiously entered the house. It was quiet. I looked around and couldn't find anyone. I put the flowers down and went downstairs. Bella was still sleeping. I sat in the living room. Several hours passed before I heard the front door open. I rushed to see who had arrived. My mother walked in, grim-faced. Dennis was with her. Neither of them looked at me. Where's Millie? I asked. Dennis glared at me. What do you care? I opened my mouth to argue, but my mother spoke. We took her to the airport. She's back at school. We switched her return ticket. What? She just got here. What did you expect, Jake? Your behavior was atrocious. I know, I admitted. I wanted to apologize. I don't know what came over me. She called a friend who lives in town. She'll be staying with her. My mother walked inside. I called Millie, but she didn't answer. I realized she was probably already on the plane. Or maybe she just didn't want to talk to me. Bella emerged from the basement, yawning. What's for dinner? She asked. Millie never answered my calls or returned my texts. The rest of the trip was tense. Bella insulted my mother's housekeeping, cooking, and decor with backhanded compliments. We cut the trip short and headed back to Austin on January 1st. I wondered if Millie watched fireworks with her friend, or if she was thinking about me. When I got back to campus, I sent her one final text. Millie, words cannot express how sorry I am about Christmas. I can't explain it. I know you are upset and I will give you space, but please know that you mean the world to me. I am so sorry that I hurt you. When you are ready, please call me so we can talk. She sent back a text. Thank you. I will. But she never did. The months passed quickly, and Bella and I remained a couple, but part of what had attracted me to her began to wear on me. When I had to study, she wanted to hang out. When I wanted to spend time with friends, she would pout and give me the silent treatment. As summer approached, I made up my mind to break up with her before heading home. But fate had other plans. The week before finals, Bella came to my dorm room. I was surprised because she usually avoided it. What's up? I asked. She hesitated, then said, I'm pregnant. I stared at her. 3 months, she added. I sat there, stunned. Say something, she demanded. I don't know what to say, I stammered. Are you sure? She glared at me. 3 months, Jake. I'm sure. What do you want to do? I asked. What do you mean, what do I want to do? Did you hear me? I'm 3 months pregnant. We're having a baby. I mean, how are we going to handle this? We're in school, first year. We still have 3 more years. How are we raising the baby here? We're not, she said, pulling out her phone. I spoke to my parents, and they want me to come back home to London. I'm having the baby there. My father was upset, but he is offering you a job at his company so that you can be there for the birth and get to know your child. If you want to come back to school after that, I won't stop you. But the baby stays in London. Bella, give me a minute. This is all too much. We're not even old enough to drink and we're going to be parents. I have to tell my mother. How will she see the baby if you move to London? She can visit, Bella said coolly. I'm going home to start packing. I'll be leaving the last day of class. Call me with your decision tomorrow. Tomorrow? This is important, Jake. I need to know what to tell my parents. Call me later. I sat on my bed, surrounded by textbooks. Pregnant. I was going to be a father. I was 18 years old and about to become a father. I was kicking myself for not being more careful, but I never imagined this would happen. My life had been mapped out. I would graduate from college, get a good job, meet a nice woman, and have 3 adorable kids. Never did I imagine this scenario. I didn't want to call my mother, but I didn't have a choice. The conversation was brutal. She cried. I cried. It was awful. She begged me to stay in school. She told me I could move to London when I was done so that I could provide a better life for my baby. She reminded me I would lose my scholarship. But my mind was made up. I called Bella and gave her the news. Her father sent plane tickets for both of us, and I sold my car because I knew if I drove it home to give it to Dennis, I wouldn't leave. I hoped he would understand. I would call him from London. That night, I texted Millie. Millie, I don't know how to tell you this, but here it goes. Bella is pregnant. Believe me when I tell you this was not in the plans. Bella has decided to return to London and wants me to come with her. I'm going to support her and the baby because every child deserves a father. I don't know when I will be back, but I want you to know that I care deeply for you. I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to spend this summer together and mend fences. Please don't give up on me. I'll be back and we'll be close again, I promise. Millie didn't respond for a day. Finally, she sent a message. Jake, congratulations on becoming a father. You'll make an excellent one. I wish you, Bella, and the baby happiness, health, and love. And that was it. For the next 10 years, I worked for Bella's father in a position he clearly created for me, a teenager with no business knowledge at all. But I made it work, and I was actually pretty good at my job. London was a far cry from Texas, and the culture shock was incredible. Over time, though, I adjusted. My life consisted of work and Hannah, my beautiful girl. Hannah was 9 years old and had her mother's elegant good looks and her father's confident personality. I never regretted my move to London because I would have never gotten to know my princess. Bella, on the other hand, was the wicked witch in my story. Very soon after giving birth, she grew tired of motherhood. She met someone at the gym and began having a not-so-secret affair. When I first suspected it, I threatened her with divorce. Yes, divorce. We married right after Hannah was born. But she laughed at me and said I could leave, but Hannah was staying. She was right. I knew there was no way a court would let me take a newborn to Texas. So I stayed and ignored it. Bella meant nothing to me, but Hannah did. Then one day, the invitation came. Dennis was getting married. My dorky brother was getting married. I hadn't been back to Texas in 10 years. My mother came when Hannah was born, but only for a week. All communication after that had been over the phone. I approached Bella about the trip, but she said no. I asked if I could take Hannah, and again she said no. I then talked to her father and asked him to speak to Bella. Hannah needed to know her American family. Bella's father liked me, and surprisingly, Bella finally agreed. I jumped into planning. Passports, plane tickets, packing. We had problems at 2 different connections, so I missed the church service. Hannah and I rushed home to change. I showed her my old bedroom because I knew she would love it. It had changed since I lived there because 10 years was 10 years. We made it to the venue just as the reception was starting. My mother spotted us the moment we walked in and squealed with joy. Jake! Hannah! She ran toward us, hugging us both. I can't believe you actually made it, she said, tearing up. It's been so long. My mother looked older and thinner, even in her jeweled mother-of-the-groom blue dress. Seeing the new wrinkles on her face made me realize how many years had passed. I spotted Dennis, a grown man. He had met his new wife in college and brought her home to marry her. I walked up and hugged him. I met his new bride and we talked for a while. Dennis had never met Hannah except on FaceTime, and they bonded immediately. I finally had to pull her away, promising that we would all catch up after the wedding. I looked around the room but didn't see her. I knew she was here. Maybe she was avoiding me. I didn't want to ask, but my mother noticed. Millie stepped out for a minute. She'll be right back. I nodded. About 15 minutes later, Hannah leaned over and asked, "Who's that lady, Dad?" I looked up. She stood there in a form-fitting dress, looking like a movie star. She made eye contact with me. Millie was beautiful. She started to walk over but was stopped by someone. She talked to them while I waited and watched her. She seemed different now, more confident. Finally, she reached our table. I stood up. Millie? Jake. I reached over and pulled her into a hug. I've missed you so much, I told her. Me too, she said. She turned to Hannah. This must be the beautiful Hannah I've heard so much about. I'm Millie. It's very nice to meet you. Your grandmother talks about you nonstop. How do you know my grandma? Hannah asked shyly. Millie glanced at me. I felt my face turning red. I had never mentioned Millie to Hannah. I didn't know what to say. Your grandmother was my foster mother for many years, Millie said. Hannah absorbed the information but didn't ask any more questions. The rest of the night went quickly. Cake cutting, speeches, dancing. It was amazing being back home. I caught up with people I hadn't seen in 10 years. Most of them were married with children, which blew my mind. Hannah danced all night, with her grandmother, with Millie, and with me. At midnight, the lights came on, and we headed back to the house. My mother drove us since we had taken a rideshare there. Hannah fell asleep on the ride home. When we arrived, I carried her inside, which at 9 years old was no small feat. I gave up at the threshold and woke her up. I guided her downstairs where she changed into a t-shirt and shorts and quickly fell asleep again. I went upstairs to say goodnight to my mother. Millie was in the kitchen getting a drink of water in her nightgown and robe. My mother sat at the table talking to her. Millie, I asked, are you staying here this week also? She hesitated. Jake, I live here. What? I looked at my mother. Millie moved in after college. She's been back for 6 years. Neither of you mentioned it when we talked, I said. They exchanged a glance. Sorry, my mother said. It never came up. I knew that was a lie. We talked for hours sometimes. She told me about the neighbors, her coworkers, Dennis's college life. There was no way she forgot to tell me Millie was living with her. The following morning, we gathered in the kitchen around 10 for brunch. My mother and Millie had cooked a feast. Scrambled eggs, crisp bacon, hash browns, buttered toast, and orange juice. Hannah's eyes widened. Wow, she said. This is brilliant, Grandma. My mother beamed. Millie sat next to my mother, chatting with Hannah while she ate. As I watched them, something felt strange. Millie anticipated everything my mother needed. She poured her coffee, brought her medicine, cleared her plate. My mother looked weaker than she had the night before. After breakfast, I found Millie in the living room reading. Hey, I said, sitting down. Hey. She closed her book. What's going on? What do you mean? You and Mom. You're keeping a secret. She didn't deny it. You need to talk to your mother. I'm talking to you. She leaned closer. Jake, talk to your mother. It's her story to tell. I went back to the kitchen where Hannah and my mother were sitting. Hannah, go watch TV in the basement for a bit, I said. She skipped off happily. I sat across from my mother. Mom, something's going on. She looked away. Mom. She sighed. Millie, can you come in here for a minute? Millie came in and sat down. My mother took a deep breath. About 6 years ago, I realized something was wrong. Millie insisted I go to the doctor. I didn't want to. I had too much to do. Dennis was starting college. Millie had just graduated. She trailed off. It was cancer. I felt numb. What? I whispered. Why didn't you tell me? Did you tell Dennis? You were living your life in London. I wouldn't have even told Millie except she forced me to go to the doctor. She continued quietly. It was stage 1. I got treatment and went into remission. Millie moved back home to help me. I looked at Millie. You knew, I accused. You knew and didn't tell me. My mother quickly said, Don't get upset with her. I made her promise not to tell you. Then she lowered her eyes. It's back. This time, it's everywhere. Tears filled her eyes. This time, there's no recovering. I hugged her, and we both cried. Millie sat quietly beside us, tears running down her face. Eventually, I said, "We have to tell Dennis." "No," my mother said quickly. "He's on his honeymoon. Let him have that happiness. He deserves to know." After a long pause, she nodded. After the honeymoon. The next weeks passed quickly. We watched movies in the basement theater. We played old video games. Millie and my mother taught Hannah how to knit and cook family recipes. They told her embarrassing stories about my teenage years. Eventually, my mother grew too weak to stay home, and we moved her into hospice care. Dennis and his wife returned. We cried together and tried to make peace with what was coming. One night, she slipped away in her sleep. The funeral passed in a blur. My mother left the house to me. Everything else she divided between the three of us. In her will, she included a note asking me to come home and keep the house open for Dennis and Millie whenever they needed it. I filed for primary custody of Hannah. Bella surprised me by not fighting it. Hannah would spend her summers in London with her grandparents, but the rest of the year with me. Her mother called every week, and Hannah seemed at peace with the changes. Bella had never been a particularly attentive mother, but she was still Hannah's mother, and I didn't want to create unnecessary conflict. 2 years later, I sat in the theater room with my daughter and Millie watching scary movies. Millie and I remained friends. She chose to stay in town after my mother's death and was a frequent visitor to my home. Hannah eventually fell asleep between us. I woke her and guided her upstairs to her bedroom. When I came back downstairs, Millie was standing in the kitchenette making tea. "She's a good kid," she said softly. "She is." Millie smiled at me the same way she had the night we watched The Sixth Sense all those years ago. For a moment, I wondered what life might have looked like if I had made different choices. Then she handed me a cup of tea, and the moment passed. Sometimes, when I looked at Millie, I wanted more than friendship. But I had learned something over the years. I was not the right man for her. As much as it hurt, I wanted her to find the man who truly was. For now, I was grateful she was still part of my life. Dennis and his wife announced they were expecting a baby, and we cried with joy. I wished my mother had lived to see that day. But somehow, I believe she had, that she was watching over us, smiling.
Thank you for listening. If you love storytelling, follow along for more tales of drama, romance, the supernatural, and suspense. New stories are added regularly. This story was inspired by the song "Someone Like You" by Adele. It is entirely fictional. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental.